Okay. Okay. My name is Gary Arroyo. I played uh, the position of guard on the 1977, I guess 78 varsity basketball team.
Um, Talk about how you came to play basketball, when you started, and how you continued to play in high school.
Okay. Well, I started in the seventh grade at Garrettson Heights, and I played seventh and eighth grade basketball there with probably some of the guys that eventually played at John Swett, Marty Torres, and trying to remember if there was a few others there, but yeah, and I really was interested because my father used to play when he was in school down in Madera, California. And then that's what got me. I mean, I've tried all the different sports, the base hardball. I played a little bit of that, pony league, and all that kind of stuff. But I figured I was better at basketball than I was at flag football or the baseball aspect of it. So I stuck with the basketball. Yeah.
Do you remember if you had any expectations on that particular year of yourself or of the team? What did you think going into the season that what we might be like?
Mm. Well, expectations for myself is I know I wanted to improve more on my skills. Um, I don't know if I would say I gave my 100% to develop those skills, but I think I did good enough when I did practice. When I had free time, I would go practice. My weaknesses, I think, for the most part, were my dribbling. I was never a very fast person, so I worked on my also my shooting skills a little bit more. Never nothing from like what was known as the 3 point line now, but something in closer and stuff. I love doing layups, things like that. But as far as those go, yeah, that was pretty much it for my development. The team, for some reason, knowing the guys that I knew then, I knew they were good already. My junior year, I used to watch them, you know, and I'd love to be part of that team, just to be part of the team.
And what were your thoughts on Myron and playing specifically for him?
Yeah, Myron, I didn't have him in any of my classes at school, but as a coach, to me, he seemed a very serious person most of the time. It was rare if I saw him smile. I can't recall right now if I've ever heard him busting out laughing, you know, which led me to believe he was more of a serious individual. Maybe that's just his personality. I don't know. I never got to know him outside of the school atmosphere. So, yeah, I would say that was probably what I can recall of Myron there.
Do you have any memories or thoughts of a specific game?
Um, Not other than us playing Vanden. I know those were the big games because Vanden was very good back in the day. And if I'm not mistaken, we only won when we played Vanden by a few points here and there. Um, but I just remember the crowd noise of those games, of the Vanden games, whether we were at home or over in Vanden, the high school over there. And I always remember, yeah, those were good. And didn't get to play in those games because the scores were too close. But just just even being on the sidelines there, I was able to just, part of my energy. It felt like I'm out there on the floor with you, giving you guys my energy too. And there's a few of us on the bench too. Who are also, I'm pretty feeling the same thing too, giving that positive energy out there to you guys. And came away, you go to bed that night and you're still riding high, right? The adrenaline's still going through your body because the excitement of the games.
And you mentioned the crowds, and the crowds. We used to sell that gym out.
Oh, yes.
That to me was really exciting. What would that feel like that the community got involved in our team as
Oh,
well?
yes. Everything from the cheerleaders, to me, it was like they were there also part of the crowd. They weren't just going through routine cheers. They were, you could feel the energy coming out of them, and I think they passed a lot of that along to the crowd too. And when our guys are out there on the floor just scoring and doing their magic, um, yeah, it affects the whole crowd. Uh, and from what I recall, you just walking around campus and stuff, that excitement carried on even after the games were over, maybe even to the next day in school or whatever. Good job, you guys. Good job, you guys. And even though I didn't play the game, but it was still a good job, you guys, as a team.
Right.
Very exciting.
It was a culture. It felt like the other teachers would come to our games.
Right. I
And,
noticed a lot of the teachers just like, wow, they're interested in the games. Sometimes teachers, and I understand, you have a hard day at school, you want to go home and relax,
right.
but then they come back and watch our games, right?
Yeah.
Give them some excitement.
And it was a different time because I think
Right.
it was a different time because I think
Right.
that teachers lived in the community back then.
Yes.
The way they don't now.
Right. A lot of them have to drive because affordable housing or whatever, drive distance to come to school now.
Overall thoughts of that season. If you look back, did you tell your kids about this season? Have you told anyone over the years
I
about this?
I told my daughters when I was looking at my yearbooks and how we won the championship, the SCAL championship that year, and I've had taken them to basketball courts before when they were growing up in junior high, and we would shoot the baskets and just stuff like that. I wanted to see if they were gonna get maybe they got some talent or something there. You never know until you expose them to that. But yeah, they would listen to stories, but like typical. Well, I don't know that guy, Dad. Well, I don't know that guy, Dad. And I go, well, these were good guys. These were good guys that I hung out with, at school and sometimes after school or whatever. But yeah, it was probably one of the best years in my life. And some kids look back at high school and like, I don't care if I ever see these people again. That wasn't me. I look forward to our high school reunions when I was able to make them and things like that. But you get to see somebody catch up, and just a great time.
And what did you do after high school? Did you continue with sports, or where did your life take you?
Well, I didn't continue with sports. I knew, I think it was probably by my junior year, what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into law enforcement. And I had done ride-alongs with the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department. And I got to know a couple of the deputies who patrolled around Rodeo Crockett area. And and also there was a girl that went to high school named Nancy Brock. Well, her father was a reserve with the Sheriff's Department, and Nancy got into our cadet program. It's for students going to junior college and things like that. So she talked to me about it because she heard I was interested in law enforcement, and became a cadet with the Sheriff's Department. It's a volunteer position. I had prepared for my career I remember myself and Larry D. Tomasi went up for career day. We went to Oakland PD and just did a tour of their facilities back in the day. I chose law enforcement. Larry, I think he went into architecture for a while, and then he became a teacher, art teacher, eventually. But I continued on. I went to Diablo Valley College. I got my AA degree there, my certificate in administration and justice there. And I was about like 20-ish, 20 and a half, I think. And myself and a few other cadets put ourselves through the academy up at the Butte Community College. We lived in Chico. We all rented apartments up there for 4 months. Drove down to the college 5 days a week, put ourselves through the academy, graduated. And once we graduated, I had turned 21 by then, and the sheriff's department picked us up because we'd save them money by putting ourselves through the academy. So they brought us in as lateral officers. So we had a higher pay step and all that, which was fun. But yeah, and been there ever since.
Do you have any regrets around high school sports? Is there anything you wish you'd have done that you didn't do?
I think I would have probably liked doing golf. I've seen some of the guys on the golf teams and stuff like that back then, but I believe Mr. Farnham ran the golf classes or whatever. But I just, with Dad working at CNH and all, we couldn't afford 3 boys. Mom didn't work. We couldn't afford too much, basketball. You buy the shoes, things like that, and that's it. And going back and forth to practice, take the bus from Rodeo to Crockett for practice and stuff like that. But yeah, golf would probably be the other thing. I wasn't big enough for football. Baseball, I was okay. I played second base a lot when I was playing the pony leagues and stuff like that. But that was pretty much it. I was infield or outfield, left field, and that was about it. But basketball really is what my favorite sport became back then.
And now it's been over 40 years. What's your feeling now when you look back on this team? Is it fond, or is it?
Oh,
what do you feel like?
Now? Jeff, it was when I opened my yearbook and look at each and every one on on the team there, and thinking, man, we all bonded together as a team, a true team, right? You'll look at some professional sports and things like that, and how some guys treat each other, even on their own teams. And to me, that's not professional, the way they treat each other. Act like a team. And I think if you act like a team, it brings the best out of everybody. And just that time period, you kind of knew once high school's behind you, it's really time to grow up, because you're going to go out into the real world and stuff. And I believe my teachers and those who I associated with, including the sports teams, really helped me develop myself. That was the fondest times, especially my senior year. It was the best.
Yeah. And with that team, I think, as I look back on it and sort of think about nobody ever said anything. There was no animosity on the team. We got along. Mm-hmm. But I think, as I look back on it, we all had a common respect and somewhat fear of Myron. Mm-hmm. We also knew Myron would not tolerate a team that was not getting along.
Right.
If somebody was stepping out of line, Myron was going to deal with it. And I don't remember anybody stepping out of line.
No, I don't. And I think we all had that respect enough for him, to really not do anything out of the ordinary, I guess you would say. But I think we were all focused, and let's face it, you're there to win. And we wanted to win. And I think a lot of it showed in our practice too. We had good practices and stuff. There wasn't that one or two guys that would just lollygag over here and cause the rest of the team to always be running extra laps or stairs or whatever the case may be. We tried our best, and the end result is what it is.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he was what everyone has talked about, which I remember is practices were hard. Mm-hmm. They were tough.
You sweat. You sweat. You were drenched.
Running those bleachers.
Right. I remember those. I'm surprised nobody ever fell from those bleachers. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they did. I didn't see it or seriously got hurt. But yeah, I remember, like you said, the bleachers, right? Running lines were one thing, right? But those bleachers, yeah. And I don't know if John Swett's the only one that had bleachers like that. I'm trying to remember. Those are pretty big steps for bleachers.
Mm-hmm. And now we hear that they're not allowed to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the going up, it was the coming back.
Yeah, the smaller, real quick, exactly. Right.
Yeah. Are you aware of the '67 team and their accomplishments?
You know what? I've never heard of them, and I never heard of the accomplishments either. And whether or not we still have the records at the school, or some of the former players of that era had kept any of the records, news clippings, or whatever. But no.
Yeah.
Were they? Did they win the Scal championship yet?
They were in the EBAL, which was in the East Bay.
Mm.
They were very good. They came in second place,
Mm-hmm.
but they had George Schandelmeyer, who's
I remember
still
George.
around, and a guy named Tom Hunt. Both of them went to Gonzaga on basketball
Oh,
scholarships. And
okay.
Tom Hunt ended up moving on and coaching at one of the colleges in Wyoming, I believe. But Gary Steffen was on that team,
Mm-hmm.
who was my baseball coach my senior year and was around a lot. Art Cooper was on that team, who ended up playing minor league baseball for the Yankees, was a great athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a few other guys, and they were very, very good. The discussion is who was better.
Mm-hmm.
So George says he thinks we would have won because George came to all of our games. He thinks we would have beat them because their style of play was so slow. They had a coach who was a real slow, kind of a Hoosiers kind of guy.
Okay.
Everything's really slow. Dominic Angelo, who was a pretty good scorer on that team, swears that they would have beat us. So when we go man for man, I think we would have beat them. Just because Keith was a great shooter.
Right.
Paul D'Amelio was a great point guard. Ralph was just a really good scorer. Mark Cox completely maximized, Myron completely maximized what Mark could do, which is this one or two drop step moves that put our 5'10" center just as one of the really good guys in the league.
Right.
And Jeff Roldy as our Draymond Green.
Oh, yes.
Being a monster.
I remember to this day, Jeff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then when he broke his leg, I remember I thought our season was over.
Yeah.
That he was not. We would not recover from that.
Well, Jeff being there with us on the sidelines, I think still gave us, Jeff's here. Jeff's part of the team. We get that energy from Jeff too, right? Almost like an assistant coach in a way, also.
Right.
Yeah. But
Well, any last thoughts about your experience of being on what arguably was the greatest basketball team ever in the 130 years of John Swett?
I can't see anybody else other than a few on the 67 team saying that. I think it was it. And I don't think there'll be another class, 78 varsity basketball team at John Swett ever again, because we had the talent. We had the talent there on that team, that varsity team. We had the coaching. We had the staff for everybody there. And I really, like I said, looking back on it, would you say it was 40-something years already? And when I think about it, it just kind of, it's almost like it brightens my day. And I remember, I have fond memories of that time and all the guys. And it'd be nice if we had a reunion where everybody from the team could be back there and we could take another group photo or something like that, of everybody. But it is what it is with our, it's already 2025, and thank God most of us are still here, right? And but other than that, no. Good times back then. I don't know what JS is like now over there. I hear stories, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay. That's terrific, Gary. That's great.
Okay.
So there is talk